me early.
They did one water rescue last night. Somebody drove into some high water. Is that an hour later that water had receded?
Matt called me early this morning. He said, man, he said, he said, bro, the boat's not passing. I go, really? He goes, yeah, we talked for a minute. I said, well, that's good. We don't have stuff today. He goes, man, I want to call you about that. I said, no, you call me anytime.
Secretary Gully.
Oh, man.
Is Mr. Ferguson on this committee? Give me about 30
He was
seconds.
calling now, let's hold up.
Yes, sir.
Meeting.
He is. Sign in, please. There's yours. Yeah, glad you reminded me.
Secretary's the hardest job in the committee.
Who didn't show up to his meeting last?
Okay, it's 7 o'clock. See if we can get this thing going here. Call the Education Committee to order. Mr. Gully, would you like to call a roll?
Can we go for that, shall we? Jerry Ford.
Here.
Richard Harsh.
Here.
Dwight Jewell.
Here.
Linda Sue Johnson. Bill Ferguson. Here. Landon Gully. Miss Grace Thomas. Gary Walsh.
He is not going to be here.
And Mr. Kerr, our school board representative. And Cameron.
Mayor Change. Okay.
Got a cool.
Yes, we do. We have a quorum. First item of business would be to approve the minutes from the February 4th, 2020 meeting. They're on the back of your agenda sheet. Do we have any additions, corrections?
Move to approve.
Have a motion to approve and a second by Mr. Ford. Motion by Mr. Harsh, second by Mr. Ford. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? It is done. First item of business we have is under old business, which there again is an update on the middle school roof project, just to let us know where we're at with it, what we've done, if we've got anything back from the architect or whatnot. Who's going to handle that? Mr. Satterfield? Mr. Kerr?
I'd let Mr. Satterfield, he's been in contact with John and them
Okay.
more than I have.
Let's see.
And of course, y'all saw some of, you and the mayor saw some of it with the roof a week or so ago.
Ryan Pierce, who seems to be the guy doing the drawings of code, sent an email yesterday, and I'll come to this in a minute. Our drawings are complete. We are in our internal review process. Our intent is to submit them to the State Fire Marshal's office for review this week. And we would recommend not to advertise for bidding until we get the Fire Marshal review. And John was going to be here this evening, but he has a friend in Cookville, and he's been with them all day. They've actually lost a tornado, and I think lost his wife today. So he's with them, and he told me that he would be here if needed to be.
But you got no link in that thing.
We're on a tight budget and transport education. We're doing the best we can. We get everything we can out of every penny.
She may have to cipher this.
Okay, I can do that. The letter before you that John sent today from Brian says that they're to complete the construction documents. That'll be tomorrow. And they are going to submit to the State Fire Marshal, hoping for a no review letter.
That's what it should be.
Okay.
And that shouldn't take much over a week or two.
Okay. That's what they're pulling for. And then they would submit to the local building codes here by around March the 5th, which would be Thursday. And then, now this does change the timeline a little bit from what we had talked about. He wants to advertise for bid on April the 5th. He would like to have a pre-bid on April the 14th, and then receive bids on April the 23rd. So that's on a Thursday. Originally, we were planning to have our regular April board meeting on April the 16th. So we would do a bid opening earlier that day, have those bid documents before the board in their regular session, and then approve that and get that to the commission. However, this timeline makes that a little bit tighter. We would, Mr. Kerr, of course, the board would have to decide when to meet, but we could move our April meeting back a week to the 23rd. Mr. Ford, that saves money too, so I don't have to pay board members for 2 weeks. As well as saving ink. And then, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Mayor, then we would have we could get those to you by Friday, those bids to you by Friday, and you would meet on Monday if y'all could swing that. Now, I did talk to John this afternoon, and I said, John, are you aware that that pushes us back a week? And he said that yes, he did, but he thought that was best for this project. And let me see what he said to me exactly in a text. It would be better to have the extra time. If we get the state fire marshal's approval sooner, we can keep the original date. It just depends on the speed of the review. So that's where I'm at right now. So I guess that's where you need to discuss.
Yeah, something that comes to my mind, Mr. Chairman, is with the events of last night, there's going to be a lot of roofing going on in this area. Is that going to, even though this is a commercial, I mean, I'm just thinking these people may have so much work coming up that they may not can get to us for a while or something.
Maybe we can get somebody local to do it.
Local, commercial?
I think the biggest thing is going to be the availability of materials.
Yeah.
That's one of them.
And I think,
I'm just concerned with the events of last night that it could hurt us,
well,
you know.
while the events of last night were significant to us and to our area, it's not a drop in the bucket to the country or to, you see what I'm saying? So it could, yeah, I think it possibly could, but I don't know. If it is, it is. You know, I mean, as long as we're doing all we can do, that's all we can do. But
And a lot of these metal roofing companies that we'll be seeking bids from are, have regional outfits across the country. So maybe they just won't be so local that they can't service this area. They might be from Louisville or Atlanta.
and a lot of that is going to be happening now. They're going to be up there fixing things next week,
Right.
next month, not May and June. You see what I'm saying? So, yeah, I would be more concerned about the supply of materials than necessarily the work.
I've been worried about that all along, but we run this thing right down to the date. And you don't call and get an order still on something like that next week. I hope this works out, but I've been cautious about that all along.
But also, I think from this letter and hearing from John, is he's saying we need a little bit more time for the bid process. And remember, the more time we give the bid process, the better chance we've got of getting a good price.
Well, the people that's gonna do this are commercial builders. That's the one thing I think is in our favor. It's commercial, it's not residential. You got a lot of people out there doing residential, but you don't have as many people doing commercial.
But as many bidders as we can get
Yeah.
in a capitalistic society, the better price that we can get on this property.
I know Mr. Beasley looked at that sometime back, and he said 850,000 is way too much for it.
Mr. Beasley, who is Mr. Beasley?
Yeah.
Who is Mr. Beasley?
Lewis,
Oh,
well, maybe he can do it cheaper.
maybe he can bid on it.
I hope he will.
That's right.
If he can save us some money, I hope he will.
Sure.
I I think we just need, we're gonna have to do what we can. I mean, I can try to pull some strings at the fire marshal's office, but I don't want to. Sometimes it hurts more than it helps, but if I see that it's bogged down, then I will
Well, maybe we can do that.
try to.
Well, this is different than what we planned from the
Yeah.
beginning. It's pushed us back 1 week.
It really, it should not be an issue at the fire marshal's office. It truly should not be an issue.
I don't think it will either.
All they'll say, they'll look at it and say it's a roof. That doesn't change your codes, it doesn't change your egress, it doesn't change your occupancy loads. We don't need to do this, and they issue, a letter that says, we've reviewed this and we do not have to review this. It's a no review letter, but you have a letter from them saying that they've looked at it and they don't think they need to look at it anymore. And typically that's done more than not, and it gets done pretty quick. Just depending on who's there to look at it. You've got 3 guys that routinely do the school review on school projects down there. One of them I know very well. It would just be what their workload is and whether they're off on vacation or something like that, but it really should come through pretty quick.
It's not like building a new school.
No.
You think there's a chance that we could go back to our regular?
I think so. I mean, if that comes back pretty quick, I think he could. I think it's out of his control. It's out of our control.
Well, the reason I asked, you know them, you know those people, so that's why I was wondering if you think we had a fair to middling chance of getting it back.
That's what I'm saying. I think they'll get it back pretty quick. And if I see that it's not, if he'll let me know that we haven't got this, then I'll try to talk with somebody.
What's the date you getting out of school, Clint?
May 21st, 22nd.
22nd graduation.
22nd.
So you got right out a month to order materials and everything. If this falls in line like it's laid out here,
Right.
that might be enough.
But we also understood in talking with John that this project will not be done by the time school starts.
Right.
Anyway.
But you could probably get him to work where you need it done the most.
Yes, sir. And that
Prioritize where you
like
need to
the
work.
entrances.
Right. But I think, it is what it is.
It is what it is, you can't change it. We gotta hope for the best.
So what I'm asking from this body and you, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Mayor, can I start pursuing moving our board meeting back a week and still be able to meet this timeline? Also being aware that it could go back to the 16th, when you get it back from the fire marshal.
You have to have a week or so of advertisement.
I have to close 5 days,
5 days.
unless it's an emergency.
Yeah.
This is not constitutes an emergency yet.
We should know pretty quick,
That's what I'm thinking.
probably next week, whether he's gonna get that
Okay.
letter pretty
So
quick.
I can correspond with
Yeah.
you by email,
Yeah.
what John comes up with.
I mean, I don't think right now, until we know that it's gonna get bogged down there, I don't see that,
But you see in this letter, he's
I
requesting
understand. I understand. Yeah, I understand.
We just want to be prepared.
Yeah, I don't know whether he doesn't understand, but, for us, the reason we were trying to get it prior to the 20th is that's when we have our work session and our budget and finance meeting, so we could approve it on the 20th, so that we could vote on it on the 27th.
Exactly.
And if we needed to delay even the budget and finance meeting till later in the week, till Thursday, the 23rd or something, we probably could do that as well. So I think let's wait and see how it proceeds. Because
Oh, you can.
we've got a few options.
You can wiggle there a little if you have to.
Yeah. We're still, a month out, 2 months out technically. So let's see how how it goes with getting that photograph. But I understand him absolutely feeling like he absolutely has to have that before he proceeds, because you're going to have it before you proceed.
Right.
Or you're spinning your wheels. Do you have any of those drawings that they provided you, the architectural renderings that show those various roofs or anything?
Yes, sir. I tried to print those, but you see I've got color printer problems, and those pictures did not come out well. So, but I can send them to you in the email.
Okay. One thing that,
Well, I don't have any color in it, for sure. But I did try to print a few of those to bring tonight, but my printer just would not cooperate.
We cut his budget, Jerry.
the reason I brought that up is because we had, the mayor, myself, and Dr. Satterfield got together to look at those, and there was a question from the architect as to what pitch you wanted to put on the roof. Whether you wanted to go with 812, 312, or 112. And the proposal that they'd had from that initial company was for a 112 pitch, which is the minimum pretty standard that you would do on an almost flat roof. And the thing is, driving by, you're not going to see the roof. So the question came up, are people going to say, we spent all this money on this new roof and I don't see no new roof? And that's a valid point, valid question. And felt like that it's gonna be, the more you increase that pitch, the more cost you're gonna have.
Right.
So if you're down here and you're having to raise roof units and things, you're not having to build them up as high. As long as the water can get off, that's what it's all about. So we felt like that as long as the architect felt like it would be as good and work as well, and that it was our most bang for the bucks, that we wanted to go that route. We were more concerned with a good roof that would last a long time than what it really looked like. Because it's not going to look bad, it's just not going to look any different, basically, than what the building looks like now, if that makes sense.
Well, you would see a roof on top of it, whereas now you don't.
Really? You may have
Well, if
to-
that pitch is not very high.
It's going on top, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
So when it sits on top of those that
But
are,
at a
You
one.
still might not see it because that building's high.
You'd have to get at a certain angle to see.
You have to get to certain spots
Well,
to
you're
see
not
it.
putting the roof on a brand new building to start with, so they make.
You go up here on the hill and see it.
So don't spend too much on cosmetics.
Could you be up
well,
high?
I'm thinking,
Don't
yeah.
stay, yeah.
But down at the front at the library, you're not going to be able to compare and see the roof, whether it was a 112 or a 312.
Oh.
More likely. Now from the street at the back, from Andrews, you might be able to see it, or you'd see the edge of it, or you'd see part of it, but it's not going to look like a roof sticking up like you see on a house. It's going to be, and that was
where we are.
It's not gonna be like going down there on elementary school.
Well, I think we were envisioning, and were afraid that the commissioners would envision the roof looking like the roof on the elementary school, a real steep pitched roof. And that was where the concern came in. But that would cost a lot more, I'm sure.
Steeper you make it, the longer the thin's gotta be.
Yeah. So that's kind of why we said, as long as the architect recommends it and says it'll work well, we're more worried about longevity and cost than we are aesthetics.
Well, he's wanting to get 15-year out of it, aren't you, Glenn?
The warranty's somewhere between 15 and 20.
Yeah, that's what you want.
Right.
But that's, other than that, is there anything else concerning this? Did he have any other questions?
No, sir, nothing I can think of. And I'll send y'all a copy of that render.
You gonna put some ink in it?
No, I'm gonna let you print it off your printer. I'm just gonna send you the PDF.
Bring something like it in here, show something like you can't even read.
I did try to print it. You can see I got printer issues. And then I even tried to go black and white and it didn't work.
Hey, tight over.
Tighter than I thought.
And tired, ain't Johnny?
Anybody have any other questions about this, about the roof project?
No, sir.
Okay, we're good on it right now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Under new business, wanted to talk about our budget schedule. We're getting into budget time. There's some, I'm sure there's some questions that you are going to need answered going into the budget hearings from us to know some direction on. I think when you and I had a conversation the other night, I said I thought April 1st, but I think it is May 1st. When I went back and looked, that's correct.
That's what we got.
Yeah.
And that's so much more beneficial because we don't get our first BP estimate till mid-April or even, I mean, we've got it as late as the 26th and 27th.
The budgeting statute the county commission adopted is one you've already adopted in your policies. The only thing that happens, the county officially adopted that to please the comptroller's office, who was saying we don't know what statute to regulate you under. But it's the same one you've already got referenced in your policy, so the dates don't change.
And that's one reason that we wanted, some of us wanted to go with that, is it aligned with what y'all were already doing.
The discussion with the comptroller's office is when it came down to the schools, because that was the last issue last year in the budget, and I pointed out that you already had adopted that the county general budgeting statute, and then there was more discussion between myself, the comptroller's office, and the county attorney, and everyone agreed the way the Travis County operates is more, even though we're metropolitan, we operate more like a county than a city, so the county general law is what everybody agreed would be the best one to adopt, and that's what the county commission did.
That's what I understood.
I was just scared we couldn't have it.
No, and I understand, and I wasn't, I'm sure, I mean, I had April 1st imprinted in my brain because of the departmental.
Right.
April 1st is for the other.
Right.
All the other departments except for the schools. The schools come in May 1st. How it's structured is you get all your other departments out of the way and then deal with your schools last.
That's what I thought after you had, what I read. That's good.
I think it has to be submitted by May 1st and voted on by June 1st. I think it's what the statute said.
Yes.
But the comptroller's office had made it clear, as long as it gets passed by June 30th, they'll be happy. So, I think they had 12 out of 95 counties last year got theirs passed on time.
But I will say, I assure you, we'd rather have it sooner than later.
Yeah, we'll have it. As soon as we can get our estimate, in 7 to 8 days, we can have your budget, is what I'm saying. Because we don't know, like, if what part of the governor's budget is going to be passed or not.
Right.
Yeah, where everybody's at, well, all kinds of different things have been proposed.
And all the
Doesn't make
money
it
that
through or
they're
not.
throwing in this and that, and whether they're gonna do, yeah. I know, and I assure you that it's gonna be our best guesstimate. A budget is not set in stone. Will have to be amended, it will have to be juggled, it will have to be changed. We want to get it as absolutely close as we can, but we can't put it off for some little detail that we don't have the answer to. You know, we've got to give it our best shot and move on.
Agree with that. Get that restricted fund right this year too, buddy.
Mr. Ford, it's the same money. It's just,
Good. See, it all be simple.
you can't make money disappear or appear.
Is there anything pertaining to the budget that you needed to ask us specifically about
No, sir, I don't have anything.
at this point? And if the questions come up, you know, go ahead and fire them.
The only thing, and Mr. Kerr and I spoke about this the other day, when I was at the water board meeting, the conversation came up about a 3% raise for in their budget for their employees. The mayor spoke that I don't mean to put words in your mouth, but it sounded like he didn't have an appetite for 3%, but would be more palatable for 2.5%. And because he had other departments that he had to consider. I would certainly like for the education committee to certainly get behind in previous years what we've always done. If county employees got a percent raise, they did the same thing for our non-certified bus drivers, educational assistants. And we would certainly like for you to entertain that thought going forward into the budget process.
Well, I'm on the water board, and I will clarify that. What we were looking at there, Tommy put 3% in his budget across the board, not just raises, but on all his categories. And the research the mayor had done indicated that the cost of living or the inflation index was at 2.5% in the last year period. So in order to try to keep things at the same keel, we decided on a 2.5% cost of living adjustment. I don't personally consider it a raise because you're just bringing back the people to where they were before inflation took their money away. You know, a raise would be $20,000 an employee or something, but it's a cost of living adjustment, and we settled, at least in the water department, 2.5%. Now, I haven't seen any of the budgets from any of the departments. I know the mayor's been looking at them and going over them. I've heard some of them say that they had put as high as 5% in there, and I think the only thing that we had really discussed informally was a 2.5 or something. You want to elaborate on that, Mayor?
I think
Is that about right?
I think what the term used with this is a cost of living adjustment. I said, well, cost of living adjustments are supposed to compensate for the rate of inflation. And the year ended January 20th, the rate of inflation was 2.5%, not 5%, not 3%. So I wanted to get it down to that 2.5 if that's what was going to be done. And that's what we did, because it was not just for the employees' raises, it was across the board, all the expenses he was proposing, save for some that were foreseeable that they were going to be more, was 3% increase, and he thought that was a little excessive just to say, we got no justification for it, let's just raise it 2.5%, 3%. He said, no, if you're going to do it, let's do it at 2.5. And I think the question when one of the board members says, what are you going to do if one of these other departments comes in and asks for 3? And I said, I'm going to tell them rate of inflation is 2.5%. But
If I might say something, we didn't want there to be any confusion, because from last summer, we had said that we weren't going to ask for any new funding, and we are not going to ask for any new funding on our BEP portion of the budget. But the non-certified people have nothing to do with BEP at all. No money out of BEP goes into that part of the budget anyway. It's just like any other county area. And we just want to make sure that those people are treated like all other county people.
I'll tell you my point of view on budgeting is the departments come with what it is they propose, and then it either gets approved or.
Oh, I understand that part. We're good with that.
But so I just.
Do you have any idea what that would amount to? How much dollars we're talking about? Have y'all looked at it preliminary?
No, but that's one of the things going forward that I want to calculate and bring that to budget and finance when that becomes appropriate.
Do you plan on paying this?
No, it's reoccurring revenue. I mean, it's reoccurring expenditure for which we'd have to have reoccurring revenue.
And you going back, you backing up on your same thing like you did before.
I don't know what.
No,
I don't
Yes,
know
you
what
are.
you're talking about.
Yes, you are.
Mr. Ford, you know
You
very
said you
well.
weren't going to ask for nothing.
I just
this
got
year.
to explain that.
Yes, that's what you
why I
said,
brought
standing
the
right
question-
there, Clint.
That's why I brought the question up.
And that's what I
And
just
we're
got
not
to
talking-
saying. This has nothing to do with BEP funding.
Let Clint talk.
Does-
No, that is exactly why I'm posing the question this
Right.
evening, is because all of a sudden, but here's the next question. If you're not going to give our non-certified a raise in the FY21 school year, are you willing to catch them up in FY22?
I don't know. When did they last receive any
It's been at
increase?
least
Did they get
2
an
years
increase
they
this
last.
last year?
No, sir.
No.
I didn't think they did. I just want to be
I think
clear on
it's,
that.
I think it's 2 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
And
think
we
we
were
fixed
last-
it.
That's right.
At least.
And the county court gave them that one. Have you ever given them a raise, Clint?
We've given them the raises that the county commission has given us.
But have you, as a Board of Education, ever given them a raise?
Out of
We've
your
given them
funding.
the raises
Out of your
for
funding.
which
Out
the
of your
county
funding.
commission.
Out of your funding, have you ever given them a raise?
I don't know. The thing that we
I
have
can
tried to
answer
do.
for you. No.
Well, I
Well,
can't.
your kind of
Your memory's
statement
better
is a
than
little
mine.
It's not, our funding is through BEP and federal and things like
Yeah.
that. We don't have the kind of funding that you're talking about.
Unless it comes from the
And the
county.
government
Unless
of
it comes
BP
from the
is
county.
giving raises to teachers, not the non-certified.
I understand that. That wasn't what I asked you.
Mr. Ford, I don't know, but I mean,
No, you haven't.
what issue do you have with not providing
It ain't got nothing to do with it.
Bus drivers.
It's got nothing to do with the question. You stood right there and said you would not come back and ask the commission for nothing. There wasn't no if this, no if that, or nothing. That's what you said, Brad.
I did
Actually,
say that.
he did
That's
bring
why,
that up
that
last
is
summer,
why
if they
I'm
would have
asking the
pay raise
question.
for the
And
non-
that's
Yeah,
why,
you want to, but
and
that'll make
that
it
is why
real.
I'm asking the question in this body. I mean, this is an education committee. I mean, I thought we were here to support education.
Well,
And
I think
those
we
people-
are.
We can't find enough bus drivers
I
now.
think we're just about to put $850,000 in the roof for you.
That's right.
But you stood there and said you wouldn't come back this year.
Again, that is why I'm posing the question now. But here's the next question for you. If you're not going to give our non-certified the same increase that you give all other county employees, are you willing to catch that up in the next year?
Can't answer that either. Your teachers gets a raise just about every year from the state.
Whatever the governor puts in their budget.
That's right, just about every year.
And Governor Haslam and Governor Lee has been good to teachers over the last 3 or 4 years.
And I think
They have
it'll
done
be
a
good
they have
this
done a
year.
good job.
I think you'll get more
But
money
let me
than
also make you
anticipated.
aware that those raises only go to the teachers that are funded in the BP, which is about
Understand that.
8.5.
I understand
So we
that.
have about 110 professional people, so we have to take that amount and spread it across all of them.
I agree with that, I know all about that. But that didn't answer my question.
What's your question?
Have you ever, the Board of Education, ever given your non-certified a raise?
I thought they have, but not in Mr.
I've
Satterfield's
been here
tenure.
12 years. I
They
would
have,
to
it's a
research that.
long, long time ago.
That's what I said, I think they have, but not in Mr. Satterfield's tenure.
I think you're right. And if they have, I don't know it. I've been in government this soon be 26 years.
No, that's not true. We gave them a raise when Mr. Carmen was mayor because he came to us and posed it, and we gave them a raise at Christmas.
Because we were doing it across the board.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
But
we did that.
But
Same
it was county
rationale.
funds.
No, we didn't get county funds for that. We did it in the middle of the year. We took it in from our
Oh, okay,
from our operating
okay,
funds.
okay,
Well, you
good.
got so much money now, you don't know what to do with it.
Well,
How many-
we're losing $600,000 a year.
Come on, Clint, you
Look
get
at the
more money
budget.
every year.
Look at the budget.
Well, one thing I'm gonna hope
You
to
get
see
more
this
money
summer,
every year.
one thing I'm gonna hope
What
to see
about
this summer
cost?
is that all these fees and everything that's supposed to make up this deficit, we shouldn't have it after the end of this budget year.
Well, that's good.
I mean, if y'all's figures are right, that this committee, that this county court told a year ago is correct.
That
And I hope you're right.
I hope so too.
remains to be seen. What threw us a curve there is the reevaluation of the property and how it changed things.
Right.
And, you know, we've got
We didn't
to,
have nothing to do with that,
yeah. Hopefully the sales tax coming in on internet sales is going to make a significant difference, but it's not been enough yet to know what that difference is going to be.
Mr. Chairman.
I'm showing that,
Mr. Chairman.
yes, sir.
Listening to the conversation, I just had a thought I want to share with the committee as we go forward with this. As the other departments come in with a 2.5% raise to help their employees with the cost of living or the index that you talked about. And then I think about the non-certified people that are with the school system. The electric bill that comes every month and the water bill that comes every month is just as much for those non-certified people as it is every other department that's getting, that 2.5% affects everybody. It's just something I think that as we go forward, it's something we should consider those people and their daily livelihood as we talk about this topic and not try to separate because of a comment that might have been made a while back is what we not do. We're trying to take care of the entire people of the county, and I just want to make that comment.
And I absolutely agree with that statement, and that's why I'd ask initially that we know how many there are, how much it's going to be.
What's the dollar?
So, you know,
Yeah, makes sense.
if we can, we're going to.
We did that last time that we gave a raise here. There was a time in which, in the prior administration, we had people that were making less than a certain dollar amount. And I believe I was the one that made, so let's at least raise it to a minimum of this here. That was.
We raised it to
We
$10.
raised it. But we asked, first of all, what was that figure going to cost us before we approved that? So,
We didn't have all that many one making $10.
I had gotten some figures from the state on basically because of BP. And how many FTE
80
licenses?
like 85.5, 85.6.
Showing 85.52 that are funded with BEP and a total of 99.40. I don't know how you can have .40 people, but, huh?
Is that your partial year people?
No,
people
no,
work.
it's just how they calculate it. I mean,
But I guess my question, you had just said 110.
well, 106, I just rounded it up.
Okay,
It's 106, 108.
Okay.
Now, I don't have, look, but here's what's important, Mr. Chairman, is on our FY '20 budget,
Uh-huh.
you can see this, the bottom line. I mean, I thought business people always look at the bottom line. And I know that there are estimates, and there's some capital outlay expenditures coming and going. But we know that from FY '18, we ended with $4.5 million fund balance at the end of FY '18. We are projected at FY '19 is 3.9. That's $600,000 loss. And then this year, FY '20, we're expected to be at 2.2. Now that's really important that you're going from 4.5 to 3.9 to 2.2.
Come on,
Now
what
we're
do you
doing everything
attribute-
we can.
What do you attribute it to?
Fiscal capacity, that we have lost 5% funding due to the prison, is what we've been talking about for 2 years.
But you've got more money every year,
Insurance,
and you beat EP.
insurance,
Yeah,
utility costs. Our health insurance has gone up $300,000 over the last 3 years.
Okay.
I don't doubt that.
We will look at this. Just give us some figures.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. I want to try to calculate that and bring it to you in the future. Is what I'm
That's
saying.
what I was going to
I don't
suggest.
think there's
Calculate the
anybody
figures.
here that would
I'm
not
not
want
saying I
those
won't
figures.
vote for it. I'm just saying what you stood up there and said.
Mr. Ford, I'm very well aware of what I said. That is why that I'm asking this committee to consider 2.5 of the non-certified people. That's all I'm asking for. I know what I
Last
said.
year.
I know what I said.
We as a committee, I believe, I'm gonna speak as the chairman. If I'm speaking out of turn, y'all speak up. Are always about options.
Yes, sir.
We will consider it. And I don't think there's any of us that wouldn't want to do it if we can see a way to do it. But until we have some figures, we're just talking,
Right.
okay? And we've talked it enough, so I'm gonna be the chairman here and kind of cut this off. I think you both made your points, and I think we all have made our points. Do you have any other questions of us that you need to prepare this budget? That was my initial question.
The only other thing is that our board has passed a new school resource officer memorandum of understanding. And in that memorandum of understanding, that we have asked, and I have sat down with Sheriff Russell last week, the next day after the board meeting, and explained the memorandum of understanding. And basically what it's asking him to do, and you and I have had these conversations, is to calculate what overtime that it will take in order when we have an SRO that's not in one of our schools, whether it be for illness, personal leave, training, or whatever, that they will put another officer in our schools and so that our staff and our students will never be unprotected. So he is to calculate that, and that will be in, hopefully, the idea was that would be in his budget for this year.
Okay. But you haven't got that yet?
That is in the hands of the
sheriff's
sheriff
department.
at this point. Now, at some point in time, he's going to bring that back to me.
How's he gonna do that? Historical look at it? Don't know?
I don't manage their department, but what I'm saying is, that he would have to pay somebody who's off that day to come in. So they've already got their, I don't know how many hours they work. I think they work like 12-hour shifts or something, but let's say they work 40 hours. So he would have to call somebody to come in to fill in, so he would have to pay them time and a half.
Looks like you'd have to go back and look at your ledgers and see how many days your SRO officers have been missing.
We're trying to track that. We are. We're trying to track that.
I'd like to go over just a few of the education bills that are before the legislature right now that we worked on in committee yesterday. Don't want to get into any lengthy discussion. The County Commissioners Association were supporting or strongly supporting just about all of the education bills. There was just a couple of them that we strongly opposed, and they mostly pertain to moving public funds to private education, like vouchers.
I can get behind that.
Yes, I mean, I thought you would be happy with that.
Yes, sir.
But as far as that was the only ones, there was a lot of them that dealt with BEP funds and LEAs and how it's how it's figured in the number of students, and there was a lot of bills evidently, and I'm sure y'all have went over them as well, on funding school psychologists and nurses and things. They're trying to
pay them at a higher rate.
Right.
At a different, a professional rate.
Right, right. And there's all of those I think we were supporting.
I hope y'all support, there's one to add more mental health professionals
yes.
into the school system,
that's-
which is badly needed,
Yeah.
as Mr. Gully could attest
That's
to.
Senate
being a
Bill
middle school person.
2200, House Bill 2267.
Except for the
And,
teachers, John.
Well, they could use it too.
It's in House
Principals
Education
especially.
Subcommittee next week, and I think once it gets out of that, I think it will probably make it. There's actually 3 different bills that pertain to that same thing. One that I thought was particularly germane to the conversation we've had tonight is the Truth in Teacher Pay Act.
That's a good one.
I don't know whether you've heard it yet.
I have not.
I haven't,
Okay.
but I think I know what it is.
It's was sponsored by Senator Robinson and Representative Johnson. It requires the state reflect in their salary schedule the increase in proportion to the amount added to the instructional salaries and wages component for fiscal years to the instructional salaries and wages component of the basic education program. In other words, if they say they're going to give them 4%, they're going to give them 4%. They're not going to give them, say we're giving you 4%, it'll only be reflected at 2.5%.
Right.
So-
And the state's really bad about that.
Which is exactly what's taking place now.
Yeah.
But one problem with that, it's broadly captioned. It's broad. It's going to have to get hashed out in committee, and there's no telling what it's going to wind up saying when they get through with it. Okay? But that's one that we were monitoring and looking at strongly because it would affect us. The main thing we were looking at is the one we're going to affect county government and our relationship with LEAs. The mental health facilities and residential mental health facilities, and that's a big push right now, and I think you're going to see some form of funding come on for that. And what I've seen, a lot of these bills, even where they're lowering these rates, we're still so small it's not going to affect us. Like nurses now, it's 1 for every 3,000 students. They're talking about reducing it to 2,500 students. How many do we have total?
1,300 maybe.
That's what I'm saying. So it's not going to affect us even if they do it. So that's some of these, they're good in theory, but whether it actually helps us may not. Now, if they lowered it to 1,000, it might help. You know, so that's where some of these things come in committee, and you can maybe steer them a little bit.
If y'all have
One that I'm particularly, and this is passed the Senate. This bill is passed the Senate and is set for the House Thursday, for a vote on Thursday when they come back in session. This lets the county legislative body set the revenue estimates on school budgets. Instead of you coming to us, telling us how much money you're gonna get in on sales tax and you're gonna get in on BEP, we're gonna tell you what our estimates are, and that's what you're gonna be working with.
That's basically what the mayor and I did this year.
I thought they didn't agree. The figures didn't agree. Am I remembering wrong?
I basically said, here's the budget.
No, what, instead of you coming to us and then we're arguing over it, it'd be the county has to set it and then it goes to you to start the budget process. Instead of starting it and then coming and then it getting kicked back, it'll be at the very beginning. That's my interpretation of the statute.
And it was explained to me as to why. And this basically came out of East Tennessee, came out of, I believe, Sullivan County, where they've had a problem with declining school population. You know, the population of Kingsport and Sullivan County is declining. They've closed, I think, 2 or 3 campuses.
Heard that today.
You know, up there because they've lost many. Well, their Board of Education has come back in and they've underestimated their revenue sources and they're overestimated their expenses, which we all do, we want to do, but not grossly. Well, evidently they did it grossly, and they've amassed about a $28 million fund balance, war chest, with closing schools, and because of maintenance of effort, which you're very familiar with, they can't reduce it. Even though they've had a reduction in school population, the county can't reduce their portion that they're putting into it. So I think that is what this is intended to address, not so much control as the misuse in certain
See, I
circumstances.
misunderstand the law. I always understood that the county can reduce what it pays when there is a decrease in enrollment.
I'm just telling you that's the way it was explained in this committee from the people from Sullivan County.
I'm like Clint, in the meetings I've attended on finance, because we have to go to a training every year, and the ones I go to are the finance ones. I've always understood it to be that you can't decrease your maintenance of effort unless you're losing student population and having to close facilities.
Well, maybe it's not proportional. Maybe they weren't doing it proportional. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But in any way, they were closing schools, declining population, and amassing more and more and more and more money, and spending money like it was going out of style. And because, it was explained, because of maintenance of effort, they couldn't reduce it.
They wasn't saving that toner, was it?
I don't know what they were doing. But I'm just saying that was why this originated. And I'm not saying we have that problem, but I can see where some counties, what we're running into, and y'all deal with it, you know, you've got some counties that the school population is dropping. Most, it's either greatly increasing, they're increasing 20% every year, and they're having to build 4 schools and 5 schools, or it's dropping, or like us, ours is pretty much maintained because of our growth has offset this natural drop that's occurring most nearly everywhere else. So that's why we've probably, is that a fair statement? Probably stayed pretty much the same as we've had those two to offset each other.
We had 55 more. Last time that we ran our numbers around December, we had about 55 more students in the district in December than we did in December in the prior year. K through 12.
So just think how much more money we're gonna get right there.
But we haven't.
Before you don't quite understand.
But we haven't been trending
That's not big.
until this year. We haven't been trending.
Let me say one thing about the BG.
Until this year.
The teachers are funded at those ratios, 1 to 20, K through 3. You could be right at those numbers, that 1 to 20 ratio, and get 19 more students and not make a penny.
Right.
Until you got to number 20.
To that number 20. And that's another thing that we're talking about is trying to reduce those ratios. That's another bit.
And that whatever the funding is, it lags a year behind. So whatever, if I got those 55 more students, then I don't get credit for them until the next fiscal year.
Right. I'm aware of that. The other issue, much like that, is, well, I think we've already talked about it. think we already talked about it.
But the mayor and I did the revenue thing pretty
Yeah.
much, didn't we, Mayor? I mean,
But that's the bills that
Again-
we had. Mr. Ford?
What I wanted to ask, in the meetings y'all been to in the last few days, you took them, has there been any more talked about reorganizing BEP fund?
that conversation comes up every year, but it's slow to take traction. Usually, if there's any changes in the BEP, it comes about once every 10 years.
Where are we in that line now?
Well,
6,
of
7,
course,
8?
the metropolitan districts would really like to get into the CBER model, which is more advantageous for them. We rural people like the TASER, and right now the compromise, as all good compromises are, is the BEP's funded at 50% TASER, 50% CBER. But I do think there always stands a BEP task force who are debating this all the time. But usually that movement is very slow.
And if I'm not mistaken, aren't some of the metro areas suing the state?
They are.
They are. I saw
That's how it
I
works.
saw that.
They filed a lawsuit on this voucher, for lack of a better term.
No, I mean over their BEP funding.
They also.
But I think I heard that
Yeah.
the voucher thing, I knew they,
They
Mr.
filed-
Chairman, I do have something where
Okay.
the county association might could help. One of the things where Trousdale was very proactive, they went ahead and put SROs in all of our schools, and a lot of counties did. Then the governor came out last year with this grant program, but people that had already bit the bullet, so to speak, and put the money up for SROs and have can't apply for any of that grant money. So to me, we ought to be able to, not just us, but any county should be able to recoup some of those funds through that grant program. I mean, here we're getting penalized because we were ahead of the game and doing what was best for our people here in Trousdale County, And again, not just us. And y'all may not be able to do anything with it from a county association point of view, but if you can, it would certainly help all
I know we
counties.
talked about that last year.
Right.
Well, that is an issue. I don't remember it being discussed. I really don't.
It's too late this year because you already had the bill filing period closed out. It'd have to be looked at next year, and I discussed it with, I don't think it was one of our state house or state senate members, it's somebody else, and I just kind of got a laugh and a good luck on that.
And it's gonna be so far in the past when they could do it, even get it started, it ain't gonna happen. I'm just gonna tell you it's not gonna happen. Now, as far as the change to the BEP formula, I actually talked to Wesley about it yesterday. He said there's nothing on the horizon.
And I think it was the 50% TASER, 50% CBER was put in place in 2015. Because it was scheduled to go full CBER, wasn't it?
And then
Yeah.
And then it went back to 50% TASER and CBER, and I think that was passed in 2015, so I think it's been in place about 5 years.
That's true. That's true.
Anybody have anything else? Mayor, anything else?
No?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Have a motion to adjourn.
Let's go
All
see
in
how
favor,
many,
stand up and leave.
see how many more states
Thank you
Joe's
for being here.
taking.
Appreciate
Is
you.
it doing good?
He's taken every one so far except Chambers is home.
I know he's still over and saying.
Kevin, good to see you. It's easy. See you, Ms. Thomas. See you. Okay.
Say, Miss Richard.
And the good time was had by all. Everybody had work.